This is capitalism. This is essentially a business, okay? And you're getting people who are undercutting the price every day, so they're doing things for cheaper.
Bad bees.
For those of you who are in the Onlyfans game for a couple months and you need some help, and for those of you that are completely new to it, I need a guide to help you get started. Episode 9. So episode 9 today we are talking about pricing strategy and your menu. So first I'm going to go through your menu. I think firstly I'm going to go through how to make your menu, and then I'm going to talk about your pricing strategy. So your menu, essentially what a menu is a list of all the services that you're willing to provide, the list of services that you provide plus the price. Now this can be form of a text, plain text, or in the form of a graphic design. A lot of people opt the graphic design because, I mean, it looks good, it stands out, they're more likely to read than a plain text where it's separated, and it allows you to paste it in a plain format in a lot more places. Why do people do it? Well, because a lot of subscribers might be too shy to ask what sort of services they have. Also, it helps you set boundaries when you're coming to your price. If someone tries to lowball you, you can just be like, look, those are my prices as listed on my menu. They might come in and offer something a bit cheaper, and you can just be like, listen, no. Another reason why is you might keep getting requests for how much, let's say, a certain service is, and it might just be easier to create a menu so they don't have to ask you, so you're not replying to those messages with everything else that's going on. Right, now where do I make a menu? Okay, so essentially what you need to think about the menu is this: it has a function, and that function is to tell people what my services cost. You do not need to get entrenched in how good it looks and whether it really shows off the right side of you. No. Okay, maybe you want it to look a bit pretty, fair dues. I was going to show some examples of menus and I decided not to because of what I've said earlier about possible plagiarism. A lot of creators have worked hard on their menus, and for me to just post them out there for the world to see, no. I've done my research, you need to do yours. But that's why I'm here, so you don't have to do as much research. On what I'm telling you is, you've got 3 options really. If you're good on Photoshop or GIMP, just do it on that. I say GIMP because it's a free option, because I know you creators are looking to save money. It's just as good as Photoshop in what you would need from it. So go GIMP. Canva and Venngage are extremely easy to use, much easier than something like GIMP. It might take you a day or two to get the hang of it. A day or two. An hour or two to get the hang of it, because they have set sort of set layouts, and you can literally type in menu. I'm not getting paid from them, they're literally easy to use, and the example I'm going to show you later on in the video is literally made of Venngage in 15 minutes. I keep using Venngage because I bought it for about 3 years ago. I bought Venngage and it was £15, and it's supposed to be £15 a month, but they've charged me once. And I've been using it for free for 3 years. What I would also like to say on menus is, apart from Venngage and that, you've also got Fiverr. Fiverr is a great resource where, again, I'm not getting paid from them. Fiverr is a great resource where you can find freelancers and anyone that does graphic designs or menus already. For about £10-20 you can get away with creating a really good looking professional menu. One thing I would say though is, when you purchase it, ask for the source file that can be edited, because there may come a time in a couple of months where you've got this great menu but you can't edit it. So make sure they give you the file that can be edited, because then you can just open up GIMP or any other real photo editor, change the services you want, add the prices to what you want, and you're good to go with the same menu. Now, pricing. Okay, disclaimer here, yeah? This is what I'm going to say. One main thing to remember, I know coming into this business, and a lot of creators are in this business and they feel like they're connected to their prices in some way and it somehow declares their worth. So if they go too low, they're really selling themselves short. What I would say to that is, I'm not here to tell you that's wrong. Okay, what I am here to tell you is this is capitalism. This is essentially a business. Okay, and you're getting people who are undercutting the price every day, so they're doing things for cheaper. Now, I can't say that that strategy necessarily works. You could subscribe to someone. I have subscribed for someone for $20 before, where I wouldn't subscribe for someone else for $3. And that comes down to a lot of things to do with the creator, whether they have a rather big following, whether they've created enough teas and allure, whether their free page really makes you want to go onto it. So I would take it with a pinch of salt when people say you should set your prices to what you want, you should decide how much you're worth, and it's like, it doesn't really correlate to that, because you're ignoring the fact you're in a business market. Saying that, I would never say drop it to a price you're not comfortable with. What I would recommend doing is having a look around, seeing what people set their prices at and emulating that, which is what I'm going to show you in this video, a basic guideline of the different services and subscription price that I believe is a good place to start before you find your feet. And if you sell feet, what you want to do is, I'm going on the fact that you have no large Instagram following, you have no large Twitter following, you're not a celebrity, you've got no large following nowhere, you're coming into the game fresh. What I would start you off at is between $8 to $15. I think is a sensible place to start at. And whilst you're in that region, you will also put on promotions. So you'd go as low as $4 or $5 for your subscription, and you'd also put on free trials. Right? Out the bag, that's what I'm saying. You could go as low as $3 or $4 selling your subscription for a while. Okay? You may be someone who stays on 15, but what I'm saying is the competition is really high, and I know there's a lot of universally. The thing is, what you have is you have a lot of people come on here and spread this information of I made so much, I made so much, I made so much. These are people that are in the 5th percentile, the 5% of good looking people, universal standard of good looking people. So they're really good looking. Of course they're going to get a lot of subscribers because they're like 10 out of 10s. And then you get the people with large followings, they say the same. It's like, of course, because you already have a voice to speak to, a whole crowd of bunch of people to speak to. So it makes sense that they're going to click to subscribe. But the subscription is only the beginning. Those good looking people, they'll lose followers. Those big Insta followers, they'll lose followers. So they come on here saying, I made so-and-so in 1 month, in 2 months, in 3 months. What happens after that? Have they made the right system in place? Because what is going to happen is those initial adopters will fade out because the content isn't good enough, because the engagement isn't there. So if you're charging, I would say $8 to $15, that is just the entry fee. Okay, and subscribers need to feel like they're paying enough, they're getting enough for their money. So you enter the club, you want good music, you want dark light, you want there to be the amenities that should be there. So similarly, when you enter someone's Onlyfans, you want there to be decent content, good updates on the pictures, you want there to be videos they already can see, and you want them to be able to engage with you. So this engagement factor leads us on to the fact that they're going to ask for customs, they're going to ask for photo sets that you might already have that you haven't released. They're going to ask for videos that you might already have that you haven't released. It makes it much easier, your pinned post or in your highlights, your menu. Okay, so I'm just going to show you one I made on Venngage. This literally took 15 minutes. This is going to be available in the link below, in the comments, in the section below. But what I will say is I may have to blank out a lot of the words. So first, something very popular that is ratings. So men will send you their member regardless. They do it on Instagram. They do it to girls who are unwilling. Okay, they're going to send you their member. Now what you can do, and what some opt to do, is charge them for such activities. And you could charge for something as simple as giving them a rating out of 10. It costs more for a description, and it costs more for a rating where you're on video describing it, talking about it, and it's up to you how far you take it. And you can obviously charge more for being nude or topless whilst doing it. Right, videos. The videos are endless because videos can be endless because you can make an endless amount of content and you can get really specific. So when we're talking about masturbation, you can have a whole plethora of things into that with different toys in different positions, and they could all go for different costs. But this, the 8 to 15 region of the dollars is what I feel comfortable charging if they are videos that you've already taken and they're not custom. So you could sell that to 100 people at $8 each. That's an £800 video. It's an £800 piece of content, right? If you've got the right format set up. Okay, I would say something that contains real sex is going to contain more. It's going to cost more. Something with a dildo might cost more. Something just, it's going to stay within that. It's going to stay under 25, I would recommend, but over 10, right? So in that region you have a lot of leeway. You decide what you want. You look at the content and you think, right, this is hot, this is steamy, this contains that, this contains that, and price it accordingly, but within those guidelines I would recommend. Okay, because you can even say no video is the same. If you are charging someone for a photo set of something that's the same body part or clothed, and you're doing different little poses, you should really be able to give them a decent amount, and I'll say 5 is a decent amount. And these could be from anywhere from $3 to $8 depending on your difficulty. Some people sell free pictures for $3, right? So if you've got less, maybe charge less. But the way I'm looking at it is someone will use this to fap, someone will use this to get excited and aroused, and I think free pictures is a bit of a par. So you want them to be happy with the content as well. Obviously full nude you can charge more, 8 to 15, add more for certain body parts. But I'll say anywhere in the region of 15, 16, 17, you're in the high end of photo content. So if you're selling it for that much, it really needs to be worth that much. Okay. Let me talk about customs for a minute. Customs. Right, okay. With customs, for custom videos, it's £8 a minute. But that depends on the level of freakiness. Right, so someone might ask for a 5-minute video. What's that? 8 times £45, which is fairly fair because they're asking for what they want. You might be saying names, you might be doing a certain thing. Basically, £8 a minute, they're getting what they want. What you also have is custom photo sets. Again, $8 to $18, 5 pictures. It's really the same, right? You set a price. Okay, what differs here is the more freakier it gets, or the more weird it gets that you're not really sure about it, the less you might enjoy it, you charge more. At the point it gets where you're uncomfortable with doing it, you lock it off. You say, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not into that. Boom, lock it off, It's done, right? I think if it gets to a point in any part of the OnlyFans where you're uncomfortable, you block the person, and if you can, you warn other creators about them. But I would say also never shame people for their fetishes, right? If it's not a damaging fetish to other people, you shouldn't really shame people. Just say, listen, I'm not comfortable doing that. You need to go find someone who is. Okay, finally we have sexting and camming. Now, sexting is literally where you're texting people sex talk like you do with partners or whatever. I would say $1 to $3 a minute. Usually you would buy a block, so 30 minutes. Texting can be $30. I would say the more they get, if they get a 30-minute block, it's a bit harsh to charge $90. I would bring that down a bit as a deal and do it for $60 or something like that. With that, you can include pictures, as in whilst you're doing it, the deal that you offer comes with some pictures. That would be a nice little garnish. Camming, I've spelled it wrong. That actually really annoys me. $4 to $7, okay, per minute. Depends on what body part you're showing, depends on what you're expected to say or do. $7 might even be cheap, right? So really decide beforehand. What I'm really showing you here is the guides through everything I've seen over nearly a year. These, I would say, are the most sensible guides to go by if you don't understand what pricing strategy to use. Okay, this will place you right in the midst of the competitive market. Okay, if you go lower than that, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get more subscribers, because a subscriber, a fan, doesn't look at something that's super cheap and thinks, I want that, right? You've got to have the whole brand presence, the whole package. If you have the intensity and scale like I talked about in the content episode going on, then you should have like aroused them in enough. Why did I say that quietly? Then you should have sort of slowly brought them to a point where they really want to look at your content, where they can't do nothing but want to look at your content. Okay, and when they've looked at your content, you trap them through engagement, you sell them this stuff. And how do I mean, when will this stuff come up? So let's say you're let's say it's midweek, it's Thursday afternoon, and you've set your schedule to send out a message saying you're sending out a certain masturbation video, right, of you doing this, and you've priced it between 7 to 15. Okay, so it's not just a case of people coming to ask you for content. This can be used for you to understand where you price the pay-per-view content that you set out as well. Okay, yeah, so that's everything that I really can explain at this current moment. Do not hold me to these prices. Like I said, this is a guideline, right? Your whole strategy, and this is the beauty of OnlyFans, everybody is learning as they're doing it, because it's still relatively new. I wouldn't say it's new, but I would say that people are still finding their feet and trying to sort of box in the different strategies. So there's really low price strategy, which they really rely on subs and not deep engagement. They're really just trying to churn out content and just sell that. And then you have the other sort of strategy, which I say I would personally lean towards, because I believe that's what OnlyFans is designed for, which is the more personal porn aspect, where you're driving engagement with your subscribers, and maybe on the higher price side. However, that becomes very difficult with so many people undercutting the price. So if you really want to price at $12, then try it, see how it goes. If not, bring it down on a sale to maybe $7, $6, see how you get on. You're guaranteed to do more, but what I'm saying is don't attach your self-worth to that initial subscriber entry fee, because That's just to get their foot in the door. And once you have them, you're going to try your best not to let go, and you're going to try your best to sell them all this other stuff. So that's enough for episode 9. The next episode is probably the one you've all been waiting for. It's about promotion. It's to round things off in how you're going to promote it across platforms. Until then, peace.